July the 13th, 2025. As you're looking at verse 37, this is in the Gospel of Thomas. We went through some of this the other day, and there's amazing parallels between the Gospel of Thomas and the other Gospels that are in the New Testament. But there's also information here, and actually in both books, that fills holes in both narratives. But I want to start with 37, and I'm going to ask a couple questions. We're going to talk about that, and then I'm going to leave you with a question that I think is very important. I'm not going to try to make this very long, but it says, verse 37, his disciples, and we're talking about Jesus here in Gospel, and Thomas writing down these sayings. But his disciples said, "When will you become revealed to us, and when shall we see you?" Now, this is very key because it's not actually a parable, but it was not for all ears and eyes to see, and especially some of this information, because a lot of times Christ would share this privately with a group of his disciples. But let's see what he has to say about that. Jesus replied, he said, "When you disrobe without being ashamed and take up your garments and place them under your feet like little children and tread on them, then you will see the Son of the Living One, and you will not be afraid." And guys, don't let it catch you off guard, because you're actually going back to the garden there when suddenly Adam and Eve were hiding behind fig leaves, and they said because they were naked, and God asked them, "Well, who told you you were naked?" So we're talking about the garment here is your physical body. Now, when we meet our Father, after the four angels seal the 144,000 and millions of other people on this planet, then we're going to see the two witnesses killed. We're going to see Christ come down, and after we see the witnesses rise, we see Christ come down, and there's going to be a great event that's going to shake you loose of that garment of your physical body. That's what he's talking about here. It's not about getting buck naked or running around or anything like that. It's talking on a level that of understanding that not everyone understands it, especially the Kenites. Jesus said, "Many times have you desired to hear these words which I am saying to you, and you have no one else to hear them from. There will be days when you look for me and you will not find me." Jesus said, "The Pharisees and the scribes have taken the keys of knowledge and hidden them." How have they done that, guys? Very easily manipulate the word as much as they can and take out the books that they cannot manipulate enough without it becoming obvious. And they hide that. They hide the knowledge from many in modern times now, guys, because of what the limited knowledge they teach in these seminaries. And it's almost like a Jim Jones type deal there, to where you got very little, but it's just enough to make you dangerous. Again, he said, the Pharisees and the scribes have taken the keys of knowledge and hidden them. They themselves have not entered, nor have they allowed to enter those who wish to. You, however, be as wise as serpents and as innocent as doves. And you want to be wise, you want to study, you want to be able to recognize the enemy. And the innocence of doves, guys, is really, it's kind of like keep your head down in certain situations, not get involved in something you don't have to get involved in, and let that noise go by. Verse 40, Jesus said, "A grapevine has been planted outside of the Father, but being unsound, it will be pulled up by its roots and destroyed." He's coming right from the Pharisees and the scribes, taking that knowledge. That's the real danger. And that being pulled up, it's also the tares. Jesus said, "Whoever has something in his hand will receive more, and whoever has nothing will be deprived of even the little he has." It reminds me of putting your candle under a bushel basket. It can't shine anywhere. It doesn't do any good. And if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And that is like teaching. You know, you've got teachers that teach the same subject year after year, But to the students, they forget a lot of it as soon as they get out of there, right? Well, it's kind of like that. And the disciples, and Christ said, become passers-by. That's kind of like the innocence of doves. If you don't have to get involved in the nonsense, don't do it. His disciples said to him, "Who are you that you should say these things to us?" Jesus said to them, "You do not realize who I am from what I say to you, but you have become like the Jews, for they either love the tree and hate its fruit, or love the fruit and hate the tree." You're talking about the Word. And now here's one of the reasons I came here, and we're going to look at both the New Testament and verse 44 here. I think it's very important, especially for the elect in these end times, if you have eyes to see and ears to hear right now. I've talked about this for quite a few years, but I've never used the book of, or the Gospel of Thomas to parallel the events. Jesus said, "Whoever blasphemes against the Father will be forgiven, and whoever blasphemes against the Son will be forgiven. But whoever blasphemes against the Holy Spirit will not be forgiven either on earth or in heaven." That's the unforgivable sin, because some things can be forgiven when those books of judgment are open. We'll see, but if you blaspheme against the Holy Spirit, it's not going to be forgiven. Now, how do you do that? How do you blaspheme against the Holy Spirit without let me back up. How do you blaspheme the Father and the Son and not blaspheme the Holy Spirit? Well, what they're talking about here is going against what the Holy Spirit is going to tell the elect at a certain given time. And if the elect do not get this message and understand, then they can commit that unforgivable sin, but they won't. Because Christ said, for the elect's sake, remember that? For the elect's sake. So much will be done for that, because the elect chose to stand and fight in these end times. Now, again, you cannot blaspheme against the Holy Spirit and be forgiven. Now, let's go to Mark 13 for a moment. And we're dealing with the same situation in Mark 13. You also got it in Matthew 24 and Luke 21, kind of the basic story here. But in what we're dealing with is, like I said, a lot of these discussions were not before the multitudes. And here Christ had come out of the temple. And verse 1 of 13 says, "And he went out of the temple. One of his disciples saith unto him, Master, see what manner of stones and what buildings are here. And Jesus answered, saying unto him, Seest that these great buildings, there shall be not left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And he is set upon the Mount of Olives over against the temple. Peter and James and John and Andrew asked him privately." And this is where we started in Thomas. "Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign when all these things shall be fulfilled?" Same question, probably the same conversation. And Jesus answering them began to say, "Take heed lest any man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many." So guys, if you hear a preacher in the desert or wherever, don't go. And especially if they're saying they're Christ. And when you hear of wars and rumors of wars, be you not troubled, for such things must need be, but the end shall not be yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be earthquakes in divers places, and there shall be famines and troubles. These are the beginning of sorrows. Now, where we're going here is this next one. It says, "But take heed to yourselves." In other words, we just talked about 8 verses there of the things that are coming upon the earth, and the warnings, the famines and the troubles, the beginning of sorrows, the wars. But he's saying, stop. But take heed to yourselves. All this is going to happen. But now it's time to focus on you, because your soul is inside you, and you want that soul to make it. "Take heed to yourselves, for they shall deliver you up to councils, And in the synagogues you shall be beaten, and you shall be brought before the rulers and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them. Now, again, all of this is planned. There's a reason for it, but you don't have anything to worry about. As a matter of fact, that take heed for yourselves is very important at this point. Very important. Here it comes. It says, but when they shall lead you and deliver you up, take no thought beforehand what you shall speak, neither do you premeditate. But whatsoever shall be given you in that hour, that speak ye, for it is not ye that speak, but the Holy Spirit. It says ghost here, but that's a mistranslation. The Holy Spirit is not a ghost. It's the Holy Spirit. And so, that is the blasphemy. When they lead you up and deliver you up, take no thought beforehand what you shall speak, neither do you premeditate. In other words, you're up there, you're in the super church, you're in the synagogue, you've been through a rough time, and they're about to ask you some questions. They want you to, before the mighty churches, probably on TV, they want you to turn against Jesus. But you're getting the normal person, all of us would be guilty. You'd be saying, oh my goodness, they're about to call me up. You're probably in the back room back there, about to be called up before thousands, and millions on TV. And you can't be saying, man, what am I going to say? What am I going to tell these people? They want me to go against my Father in heaven. But what am I going to do? Do not premeditate that, but for whatsoever shall be given you in that hour, you speak it, because it's not coming from you, it's coming from the Holy Spirit. That's the reason the elect will be placed in this situation. Because what's going to happen? The whole world will hear the truth coming from you, coming from the Holy Spirit through you. And that's going to shake the entire congregation to its core. Many will turn at that point, realizing that the power of the Holy Spirit, they just heard it. It reverberated through their souls and their spirits, the ones that have a Holy Spirit. Now it says, the brother shall betray the brother to death, and the father the son, and the children shall rise up against their parents and shall cause them to be put to death. What is he talking about? This is how they get you to these churches. And it could be not necessarily they think it's evil, but it's going to be the situation with the super churches being so powerful and so mainstream media that they'll be saying, you've got to come with us to the super church. This preacher is saving people's lives and healing people and all of that. And if you don't, they're going to say, you got to come. And they talk you into it. Well, they just delivered you up to death unless you're very wise. Death is the death of the spirit. The father and the son will rise up against the parents, all of that, and shall cause them to be put to death, a spiritual death, because they misled you, and they were misled, most of them, to start with. And to be honest, that type of information is one of the reasons I don't, and I haven't since I was a child, really attended any certain church. It just didn't feel right. The word feels right. That's what feels right to me. But again, when you're called up, that's the point of the video. You can't sit there and say, oh, woe is me. What am I going to say? What you want to do is empty that vessel, empty your mind, clear your mind. Think about Jesus. Think about your Father in heaven. And think about this. Say, Father, I'm not going to say a word until that Holy Spirit comes through me. And then I hope it's loud and clear. But to then I'm going to keep my mouth shut, because God will not be late for that meeting, because it's the most important meeting that Satan's group will face before we get to that end time, to the time that we're called back. And that is, again, you're not going to be doing it in your physical body. Believe me. It says, you shall be hated for all men for my name's sake. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. In the Greek, it's actually the same shall be kept safe, because you endure to the end. You didn't give in, and you didn't say, okay, I'll turn against my father, whatever it takes. Let me out of here, or let my family go, whatever it is. But endure to the end. And one of the ways you endure is to be as wise as serpents and as peaceful as a dove. Move very passively until you have to move, and then move strong. But again, guys, that's why I wanted to come here, because we're getting to that time. He's saying you're going to have the wars. You're going to have all of this crap. But now it's time for you to take heed of your spirit and prepare yourself mentally, because if you're one of the elect, then you're going to be called up. And so you should never, ever forget this one Bible lesson. And I'm not going to keep it long, guys, but I appreciate you coming. I want to leave you with a verse, and I'm not going to answer it, because honestly, I don't have all the answers, but I have an idea what it is, but I'm going to wait and look in the comments. I'm going to read the verse, and I want to hear what you guys think about it. Now let's go to verse 49 back in the Gospel of Thomas for a moment. Jesus said, "Blessed are the solitary and the elect, for you will find the kingdom, for you are from it, and to it you will return. Born from above, from the water and the Spirit." Jesus said, if they say to you, "Where did you come from?" say to them, "We came from the light," the place where the light came into being on its own accord and established itself and became manifest through their image. If they say to you, "Is it you?" say, "We are its children. We are the elect of the living Father." If they ask you, "What is the sign of your Father in you?" say to them, "It is movement and repose." In this case, rest and tranquility is what they're talking about. It is movement, but at the same time, that aura about you, of peace and tranquility. But having the light at the same time, the knowledge. Then his disciples said, and this is the question I want to leave with you guys. His disciples said unto him, "When will the repose of the dead come about?" Again, when will this rest and tranquility of the dead come about? And when will the new world come? He said, and this is the question, what you look forward to has already come, but you did not recognize it. What do you think he's talking about in there? That's 51. Again, I'm going to read it. His disciples said to him, "When will the repose or the rest and tranquility of the dead come about? And when will the new world come?" Now, again, that new world is going to be in your spiritual body. Don't forget that. But this rest and of the tranquility of the dead, he said to them, what you look forward to, that rest and tranquility and those signs, has already come, but you do not recognize it. What do you think he's talking about that? You know it's going to be a spiritual meaning along possibly with some physical meaning in there, but all of this is spiritual teachings. So again, I'd like to hear what you think about verse 51. What you look forward to has already come, but you did not recognize it. Think about where that could place us in any kind of timeline. We're watching it, guys. You watch this. It's a heads up. Be safe.